आई एम सुपर 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 एक्साइटेड क्योंकि आज मैं बात करने वाली हूँ अपने बहुत ही एक फेवरेट एक्टर से. He is a British Indian actor who has been working for Netflix and who has been working in the field of writing, directing, and also producing and also acting. So this human being has recently been on the show called Away. He is a BAFTA award winner. ब्रिटिश ब्रेक थ्रू का अवार्ड उन्हें मिल चुका है और वो इस करियर में काफ़ी सालों से है. वो इंडिया से हैं, यूके में बेस्ड हैं और उनकी सीरीज़ में मार्सेल है, उनकी सीरीज़ में कोलेट है. नेटफ्लिक्स पे आप जाएं, आप जाके देखें. He has produced 28 Days Later, which is a zombie apocalypse film, which has been shown in different film festivals.
Hi, Zara.
Hello, how are you, Ray?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm trying to still get my lighting right and the framing of the camera right. It's my first
That's
live
okay, that's
live.
okay. This
Instagram
is your first Instagram live, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah. I'm nervous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
How are you? No,
I'm
no,
good,
of course,
thank
of course. Are you fine now? Do you want me to begin?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go for it.
So first of all, I really want to thank you for being here, for giving us your time, for being
welcome.
so kind and being so accommodating. This was very quick, and short, and it was not planned for years or months. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So first things first, Ray. How was Mars?
How was Mars? Well, it was fantastic. I mean, I don't want to put any spoilers out there for people that still haven't seen the show. So we might not have made it to Mars. I'm not going to tell everyone what happens until they've watched it. But the show in general was incredible. It was an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience to be part of something that was putting, such a positive message out into the world. And the story was about humanity coming together for something so much greater than ourselves. And so the show was just a joy to be part of, really.
It was a joy to watch. I am extremely sure that you guys must have had a blast out there. If I am not wrong, this show was shot in Vancouver.
That's correct, yeah.
Right, and you all flew and left your houses and families and everything and went away to shoot this.
Yeah. So it was almost like this weird parallel that we all the main actors were really from out of town. So we all sort of left our families behind and we were in some respects going away from people. And then that was all reflected in what we were doing as the show as well, and of course we were communicating back home with people through FaceTime and stuff like that. And that's what we were doing on the show. And then
But one more thing, I learned that your show was shot before the global pandemic hit, right?
Absolutely. We wrapped about 3 weeks before. Yeah.
So do you think that somehow or the other, you all were prepared of how life is going to be in lockdown?
In a weird way, I was, because I was so far away from home for 8 months while we were shooting the show. And I remember when I first arrived in Vancouver, I had this incredible sense of loneliness. Like I didn't expect it. Like you take for granted what you have when you're with your loved ones and your family at home and your friends. And then I was going away for the longest period of my life, away from all that. And I was away for 8 months. But the first few weeks of arriving in Vancouver, I just felt lonely. And it just came out of nowhere. And I had this incredible sense of loneliness, which was amazing because my character in the show, is lonely in the world. He has no one to love or no one to love him. So I was able to kind of use those elements of what I was feeling in the character. And then of course, 3 weeks after wrapping, the whole world goes into lockdown.
Yes, absolutely.
I come back to London and I was away from my family again. But I was a little bit more prepared than they were because I'd gone through that experience of being 8 months away with no one. And so I just think it was like the universe preparing me really in a way to be prepared for what was to come in some sense.
What do you think is that key as a writer? What do you think that there's this key that connects the audiences together on the same narrative globally? Do you think it is a single emotion, or it is a series of emotions that connects everybody? And what was it about Away that connected everybody?
I think first of all, it was the timing of it. I think is really important, and
Yeah.
secondly, I think there's a number of reasons. I think also the main thing is the world we're living in right now. It was about humanity, 5 nations coming together that have got earthly politics, right? And we all know about it. But these 5 nations were coming together. They were putting earthly politics aside and coming together for something so much greater than ourselves, something to better humankind. And that's what we all want, you know. That's what we
At the
all
end of the
feel in
day,
our hearts.
absolutely, without any barriers, any political borders.
It was breaking barriers. That's what the show was doing. It was breaking barriers in a number of ways, in what it was saying in the show, but also what it was doing in terms of the culturally diverse cast as well. It was breaking barriers in its tone. It was breaking barriers in its tone, because in what we're used to right now, we're seeing so much darkness on TV. The news, for example, we're being bombarded with all this dark news, and this
Absolutely.
was a light at the right time, when I think the people and everyone wanted it and needed it. It was an uplifting show that made people feel good and made people realize we can all come together and we can put all our earthly politics aside. Because actually, here's one thing, right, that all astronauts say, and we were lucky enough to talk to astronauts and use them.
Yes, I believe that there was this consultant on board also who was an astronaut who worked on the script as well as with you guys, right?
That's right. So Mike Massimino, who's been in space like a whole heap of times, and Mike said something to me which was the most profound thing that I heard through it. One of the most profound things I've heard in my life. And he was open and said, you know, ask me any questions about space and what it's like to be up there. And I had this burning question to ask him: what does it make him believe when he's out in space? Like, existentially, what does it make him believe about us, about life? And he said he's been out in space with both people of extreme faith. He's also been out in space with scientists and atheists. And he says what tends to happen is that when you go out into space, whatever you believe, it tends to enhance it. So if you're a person of faith, it tends to enhance your belief in intelligent creation and God. And if you're of a scientific mindset, it tends to enhance your belief in a Big Bang theory and how all this came together, or whatever it might be. And I said to him, what do you believe? And he says, when I look at the beauty at the beauty of Earth from above amongst everything else, he says, I believe that to be the heaven that we speak about. And I just thought it was so beautifully profound, and I've never really thought of it like that. It's the one thing that all astronauts or anyone that's been into space says: the beauty of Earth is amazing. And the other significant thing is that you realize how borderless it is. There are no borders. We have created borders, man-made creation, and so you don't see those borders from space.
As a brown person, breaking stereotypes in an environment that is highly competitive globally, how difficult was it for you to break all those racial barriers?
I think it was, I don't know if I fully have yet. That's the thing. But I feel like I've made certain decisions earlier on in my career. And early on in my career, I came to the realization that I was never going to be seen, and you're talking sort of early 2000s, I was never going to be a leading actor because of my skin color at the time. It was like so unlikely. I was never going to be, I don't know who was at the time, a Johnny Depp or an Orlando Bloom. I was never going to be that guy. And so I would always, or mostly, be going up for the same typical roles, to play the doctor, or to play the terrorist, or whatever, the usual stuff, right?
The usual,
Yeah, and I kind of made a decision early on that I wasn't gonna go for those typical roles, and I was going to go against it. And that meant I wasn't working a lot of the time. It meant I had to turn a lot down. It meant I couldn't pay my bills and survive at times, but I was really strong on what I wanted to do. And then I became frustrated, and I was like, there's a glass ceiling. I can't break that ceiling. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and create my own stuff. That's the only way to prove to the industry that I can be a leading actor, or I can play something else other than what you're offering me. And so I just decided to do it. I taught myself how to write and produce, and I went out there and I made my own movies, and they became successful, and I made myself undeniable to the industry. But I had to do that. I had to put myself out there and really fight for that, because I believed in myself. And it was risky, and I put a lot on the line for it, and a lot of time on the line, and but it all paid off, luckily. Because I think if you've got that dream inside you, and that belief and that knowing that you can do it, I think you've got to go for it. And I believe that if you give it everything and you try your hardest, you can make it happen.
How is work coming on in London and in other industries? Do you think that the cinemas and the seasons and the series and drama and everything is going to be on a little hold for a couple of months, or for the next season? Or you think people are going ahead and really, going out with work, and people are just infuriated and going around and working now? Or are they actually taking those precautions of sitting home and understanding?
I can only talk from the film industry perspective, and I know that things are starting up again with lots of precautions in place, and things are obviously going to cost more to make and take longer to make because of all the precautions. In terms of every other industry, I don't know what's going on. Things seem to be like they're sort of moving again, but as you know, with all the statistics that are coming in, we don't know. We're on the verge of potentially another full lockdown here in the UK.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's all, so everything, when things feel like they're picking up again, something, brings us back down. So it's all up and down at the moment. But I'm starting to hear that film is starting to move again. TV shows are starting to pick up again. So all we can do is really hope for the best, I guess.
Hope for the best, absolutely. I am so happy and escalated to have you here. You have been extremely supportive, because all of those people watching the show right now have been very excited for you to be here. A lot of aspiring actors, your fans, wanted me to go on with you and ask you about all of those questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I think this is very important for people like you to come across globally and tell artists to go ahead and reach for the stars and the sky.
Absolutely. Just keep chasing those dreams, and just keep picking yourself up. You're going to have, look, whatever you do in life, you're going to have knockbacks, but I believe that those knockbacks are all preparing you and almost testing you in a way. I can talk from my perspective. And every time I've had something come in my way, and I've picked myself back up, I've always looked back on it in hindsight, and beyond that disappointment or wherever it was, just beyond that was breakthrough. And so I almost feel like it's almost a kind of test for us when we feel at our lowest and we can't go on. Well, a lot of people give up at that point. Lucky for me, I'm sort of driven, and I've never stopped. As much as there's been times where I've really wanted to, and I've never stopped, and I've picked myself back up. But every time I look back and I go, oh, I nearly gave up in that moment. Just beyond that moment was breakthrough. So I feel like it's just, for me, and I think if we could all look back in hindsight, it would probably be a universal truth that every time you feel like that, just keep going that little bit more, because I believe that, you can't see it, but I believe it's almost that last test before breakthrough.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Ray. I hope to see you very soon. on my screen again, or a film, or wherever in the world. But thank you so much for giving me your time and so much information on the show.
See you later.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Take care of yourself. Bye.